The shuttle bay doors hissed open, and Owen stepped onto the polished floor of Galactic Harmony Academy, with his duffel bag slung over one shoulder and a leash in his other hand. At the end of that leash walked Ranger, an 80-pound German shepherd who wagged his tail and sniffed at the recycled air with obvious curiosity. Owen had expected some stares. He had not expected the collective gasp that rippled through the crowd of waiting students. A small creature that looked like a walking flower immediately fainted. Two others scrambled backward so fast they tripped over their own limbs. A tall, moth-like being with delicate wings pressed itself against the far wall, antennae trembling. Owen stopped and looked around in confusion. Hello everyone. I'm Owen, from Earth. That is a predator, someone whispered from the back of the crowd. This is Ranger, Owen said, giving the leash a little shake. He's my dog, my pet. He's really friendly, I promise. The moth-like alien made a sound like tearing silk. That creature has fangs. Well, yeah, Owen admitted, but he only uses them for eating. And chewing toys. He loves tennis balls. Nobody seemed reassured by this information. An administrator approached cautiously. She was a Heltron, with blue skin and 4 arms that she kept folded close to her body. Her voice came out higher than usual. Student Owen, your documentation mentioned a companion animal. We assumed something more traditional. A small herbivore, perhaps, or a decorative aquatic creature. Ranger is traditional, Owen said. We've had dogs for like 30,000 years. Maybe more. They're everywhere on Earth. Everywhere, the administrator repeated faintly. Ranger, sensing tension, sat down and tilted his head in that way dogs do when they are trying to understand human behavior. His tongue lolled out in what Owen knew was a friendly expression. Several students backed up another few steps. Your quarters are in Section 7, the administrator said, consulting a datapad with shaking hands. You will be sharing with a Frithen student named Quillis. I must inform you that we have received several emergency requests for room changes in the last 3 minutes. Because of Ranger? Owen scratched behind his dog's ears. Ranger's back leg thumped against the floor in appreciation. The sound made everyone jump. He's honestly the sweetest dog. He once let a kitten sleep on his head. What is a kitten? Someone asked. A baby cat. They're these small predators with claws and... Owen stopped when he saw their expressions. You know what, never mind. Can someone show me to my room? The walk through the academy corridors was an education in itself. Students pressed themselves into doorways as Owen and Ranger passed. Some took pictures. Others made frantic calls on communication devices. Ranger remained oblivious, trotting along with his tail wagging, occasionally sniffing at interesting corners. When they reached Section 7, a small figure stood outside the door. Quillis was covered in soft gray fur with large eyes that took up most of his face. His wings were folded tight against his back and he clutched a datapad like it was a shield. Hello, Quillis said in a voice barely above a whisper. I am your assigned roommate. I requested a transfer, but all other rooms are full. Nice to meet you, Owen said, extending his hand. Quillis stared at it. Oh, sorry. Human greeting. We shake hands. I know the custom, Quillis said. He reached out one trembling limb and briefly touched Owen's fingers before pulling back. His eyes never left Ranger. That is your emotional support creature. Yep, this is Ranger. He is very large. He's actually medium-sized for his breed, Owen said cheerfully. Some dogs get way bigger. Great Danes can be like 200 pounds. Quillis made a sound like air escaping from a balloon. The room was spacious by academy standards, with 2 sleeping areas separated by a common space. Owen's side had been modified for human needs with a bed instead of a sleeping pod and a small food preparation area. He set down his duffel bag and unclipped Ranger's leash. The dog immediately began exploring, sniffing every corner and surface. Quillis retreated to the far side of the room and climbed onto a perch clearly designed for his species. So, what are you studying? Owen asked, trying to make conversation while unpacking. Xenobiology, Quillis said. I want to understand the diversity of life in the galaxy. That's cool. I'm in the General Studies program. Haven't picked a specialization yet. Ranger finished his inspection and returned to Owen, sitting at his feet. Owen pulled out a water bowl and filled it from the wall dispenser. Ranger lapped at the water, his tongue making loud splashing sounds. Does he require much sustenance? Quillis asked. A couple times a day. I brought his food from Earth. The Academy said the fabricators here can make more when I run out. And he lives in your dwelling. With you, in the same room. Of course, Owen said. Where else would he stay? In a secure containment facility, Quillis suggested. With reinforced barriers and trained handlers, Owen laughed. Dude, he sleeps on my bed. Quillis's wings fluttered in distress. On your bed. Sometimes under the covers. This seems unwise. I've been doing it since I was 8 years old, Owen said. He pulled out his datapad and showed Quillis a picture of younger Owen, asleep with a puppy ranger sprawled across his chest. See? We grew up together. Quillis leaned forward slightly to look at the image. The creature was once smaller. All babies are small, Owen pointed out, and you allowed it to grow to this size while living in your home. Well, yeah. That's how having a pet works. I do not understand humans, Quillis said quietly. That's okay, Owen replied. I'm starting to think you guys don't understand dogs either. Ranger yawned, showing all his teeth. Quillis made that balloon sound again and wrapped his wings around himself like a blanket. It was going to be an interesting semester. 3 days into the semester, Owen discovered that taking Ranger for walks around campus was like being the main attraction at a zoo. Students would stop whatever they were doing to stare. Some followed at a safe distance, documenting everything with recording devices. Others fled in the opposite direction. The reactions were so extreme that Owen started keeping a mental tally of who ran and who stayed to watch. Ranger, for his part, seemed delighted by all the attention. His tail never stopped wagging. The cafeteria presented a whole new set of challenges. Owen had assumed he would need to leave Ranger in their quarters during meals, but the Academy guidelines for support animals specifically stated they could accompany their humans everywhere. So Owen walked into the massive dining hall with Ranger at his side and watched the wave of silence spread from table to table. Just act natural, Owen muttered to himself. He grabbed a tray and joined the food line. The student in front of him, a tall reptilian with bronze scales, turned around and hissed in surprise. Your predator is in the food preparation area. He's not going to do anything, Owen said. He already ate breakfast. That is not reassuring, the student said, but he did not leave the line. Owen noticed him watching Ranger carefully as they moved forward. Owen selected his meal, some kind of grain bowl with vegetables and protein substitute. When he reached the end of the line, Ranger sat automatically and looked up at him with hopeful eyes. No begging, Owen said firmly. Ranger's tail continued to wag, but he stayed sitting. Finding a table proved difficult. As soon as Owen approached, students would gather their belongings and move away. Finally, he spotted Quillis eating alone near a window and walked over. Mind if we join you? Owen asked. Quillis looked up from his meal, a colorful arrangement of nectar and flower petals. His antennae twitched. I suppose this is acceptable. Owen sat down. Ranger laid down under the table with a content sigh. He is beneath the furniture, Quillis observed. That's where he likes to be during meals, Owen explained. It's comfortable for him. They ate in silence for a moment. Then Owen tore off a small piece of his protein substitute and held it down toward the floor. Ranger's nose appeared instantly, and he gently took the food from Owen's fingers. Quillis dropped his eating utensil. You are feeding it from your hand. He's not an it, Owen said. And yes, he likes people food sometimes. Your fingers were in his mouth. He's very careful. He's never bitten me. Well, not since he was teething as a puppy, and that was an accident. Teething, Quillis repeated. When puppies grow adult teeth, they chew everything. I lost 3 pairs of shoes. A shadow fell across their table. Owen looked up to see a large, bear-like student with thick brown fur and small black eyes. His name tag read Bresic, and he was a Vorlan. May I sit here? Bresic asked. His voice was deep and rumbling. Sure, Owen said, surprised. Bresic settled onto the bench, which creaked under his weight. He was easily twice Owen's size. I have been observing your companion. He is a pursuit predator, yes? His ancestors were, Owen said. Dogs evolved from wolves. But Ranger here has never hunted anything except maybe a squeaky toy. What is a squeaky toy? Owen pulled out his datapad and showed a video of Ranger playing with a rubber chicken that made ridiculous noises. Bresic watched intently. Then his mouth opened in what Owen hoped was a smile. This is play behavior, Bresic said. Exactly. My people are also predators, Bresic continued. We understand the drive to chase and catch, but we would never allow our young to companion with such creatures. It is considered dangerous. But you're interested? Owen asked. Brezek nodded slowly. I wonder if perhaps we have forgotten something important. Your species keeps predators as family. This seems mad, yet you survive. Perhaps there is strength in such bonds. Quillis had been listening quietly. I have been researching human customs, he said. Humans domesticate many species. The list is extensive. They live with predators, large herbivores, small mammals, birds, reptiles, and even insects. We're good at making friends, Owen said with a shrug. But why? Brezek asked. What purpose does it serve to keep a predator in your home? Owen thought about it. Lots of reasons, I guess. Originally, dogs helped us hunt and protected our settlements. They could smell and hear things we couldn't. But somewhere along the way, it became more than that. They became family, companions, they make us happy. Happiness, Quillis said softly. You risk danger for emotional satisfaction. It's not really dangerous, though, Owen protested. Not when there's trust. Ranger trusts me to take care of him, and I trust him not to hurt me. That trust goes back thousands of years of living together. As if to demonstrate, Owen reached down and scratched Ranger's head. The dog made a content groaning sound. Brezek leaned forward. May I touch him? If he seems okay with it, sure. Let him smell your hand first. Brezek carefully extended one large paw toward the floor. Ranger emerged from under the table and sniffed thoroughly. His tail wagged. Then he bumped his head against Brezek's paw. He likes you, Owen said. Brezek's expression softened. He gently patted Ranger's head with one thick finger. His fur is soft. Other students had noticed this interaction. A crowd was forming at a safe distance, watching with fascination as one of the Academy's largest students pet one of Earth's predators. See, Owen said to Quillis. He's harmless. Quillis still looked uncertain, but he had stopped clutching his eating utensil like a weapon. Perhaps humans simply have different threat assessment protocols. Or maybe, Owen suggested, we just give others a chance before deciding they're dangerous. A small voice came from behind them. Could I see pictures of other Earth animals? Owen turned to find a group of students standing nervously a few feet away. One of them, a thin creature with purple skin and too many joints, had spoken. Sure, Owen said, pulling up his photo library. This is a cat. People keep them as pets, too. The photos were passed around. Each image of Earth animals living peacefully with humans generated new discussions and questions. How did humans train such creatures? Were they kept in cages? What prevented them from attacking? Owen answered as best he could, explaining concepts that seemed obvious to him, but were clearly revolutionary to his classmates. The idea that humans slept in the same rooms as their pets, that children played with animals, that people considered their pets part of the family. All of it seemed to challenge everything these students knew about interspecies interaction. By the end of lunch, Ranger had been photographed by at least 20 students. A few brave souls had even touched his fur. Quillis had not worked up the courage yet, but he had moved his seat closer. Walking back to their quarters, Quillis spoke up. The others are calling you the mad human in our group communication channels. Really? Owen asked. Yes, but I think they mean it with fascination now, not just fear. I'll take it, Owen said. Ranger sneezed, which made Quillis jump, but afterward Owen noticed his roommate was smiling. The combat training facility occupied an entire wing of the academy, its walls reinforced with materials designed to withstand significant damage. Owen stood outside the entrance reading the message on his datapad for the third time. All students were required to attend basic threat assessment and defense protocols. No exceptions. I guess we're doing this, he said to Ranger. The dog wagged his tail and followed Owen toward the entrance. Inside, the facility was massive. The ceiling stretched up at least 30 feet, and the floor was covered in some kind of cushioned material. Various pieces of equipment lined the walls, most of which Owen did not recognize. Other students were already gathered in loose groups, talking among themselves. Instructor Halvor stood at the center of the space. He was a sauran, a species that evolved from ambush predators on a desert world. His scales were a deep green, and his eyes tracked movement with unsettling precision. He noticed Owen immediately. Student Owen, Halvor said, his voice carrying across the space. You were instructed to secure your creature before class. I got here a bit late, Owen admitted. The message said no exceptions for attendance. I didn't want to miss it. Halvor's tongue flicked out, tasting the air. That animal is a liability. He'll just sit in the corner. He's really well behaved. The instructor stared at Owen for a long moment. Then he gestured toward the wall. There. Do not let it move from that spot. Thanks. Owen led Ranger to the designated area. Sit, stay. Ranger sat, his tail sweeping across the floor. Owen gave him a scratch behind the ears and joined the other students. Quillis had saved him a spot. This instructor has a reputation for being strict, the Frithin whispered. And he does not like humans, and why not? He believes humans are reckless and overconfident. He thinks your species was allowed into galactic society too quickly. Great, Owen muttered. Halvor began his lesson by activating a holographic display. Images of various creatures appeared in the air above them, each one labeled with threat levels and behavioral patterns. Threat assessment is a fundamental survival skill, Halvor said. Every species must learn to recognize danger and respond appropriately. Today we will cover the basic categories of predatory behavior. The lesson was actually interesting. Halvor explained how different species attacked, how to read body language, and what defensive measures worked against specific threats. Owen found himself taking notes. Now, Halvor said after about 20 minutes, we will discuss inappropriate responses to danger. Many species, when encountering galactic society for the first time, make errors in judgment about what constitutes a safe interaction. His eyes locked on Owen. Some species, Halvor continued, choose to ignore obvious warning signs. They convince themselves that predatory animals can be trusted simply because they wish it to be so. This is not wisdom. This is foolishness that leads to injury or death. Several students glanced at Owen. He felt his face heat up but said nothing. To demonstrate, Halvor said, I will show you what a real predator looks like when threatened versus the sanitized versions you see in educational materials. He approached the wall where Ranger sat waiting. The dog watched him with mild interest. This creature, Halvor said, gesturing toward Ranger, is an example of human irrationality. They claim it is domesticated. They claim it is safe. But watch what happens when a threat is introduced. What are you doing? Owen asked, starting to feel uneasy. A demonstration, Halvor said. Observe. He moved suddenly, stepping toward Owen with his arms spread wide and his mouth open, displaying his teeth. It was a classic predator threat display, the kind that would make most species freeze or flee. Ranger exploded into motion. One moment he was sitting calmly against the wall. The next he was between Halvor and Owen, barking with a sound that echoed off the walls like thunder. His lips pulled back from his teeth, his hackles raised along his spine, and his entire body was coiled with tension. Halvor stumbled backward. His own predator instincts kicked in, and for just a moment, fear showed clearly on his face. Students scattered. Some ran for the exits. Others pressed themselves against the far walls. Quillis made a sound like a tea kettle and wrapped himself in his wings. Ranger, no, Owen shouted. Ranger, here, now! The dog's barking cut off instantly. He looked back at Owen, his body still tense. Here, Owen commanded, pointing at the floor beside him. Ranger trotted over immediately and sat at Owen's feet, though his attention remained fixed on Halvor. The room was completely silent except for the sound of the emergency alarm that had triggered automatically when the sensors detected aggressive behavior. Halvor had recovered his composure, but his scales had paled slightly. You see, he said, though his voice was not quite steady. The creature attacked without provocation. He didn't attack you, Owen said, his own heart racing. He warned you. There's a difference. It displayed aggression. Because you threatened me, Owen said, or at least he thought you did. That's literally what he's bred to do, protect his family. This proves my point, Halvor insisted. The animal is dangerous. He's protective, Owen corrected. And he stopped the second I told him to. If he was actually dangerous, you'd be hurt right now. Security personnel arrived, weapons drawn. They took in the scene with confusion, clearly uncertain what had happened. The human's creature attacked me, Halvor said. He did not. Brisik spoke up from near the wall. The Vorlan stepped forward. I observed the entire incident. The instructor made threatening gestures toward student Owen. The creature responded with defensive behavior. When commanded to stop, it obeyed immediately. No physical contact was made. Other students murmured agreement. The security captain looked at Owen. Is this accurate? Yes, Owen said. Ranger was defending me. He didn't attack anyone. The creature must be removed, Halvor said. I think we all need to file reports, the security captain said. This matter will go before the Academy administration. Owen's stomach sank. He looked down at Ranger, who gazed up at him with complete trust and love. The dog had done exactly what thousands of years of partnership with humans had taught him to do. He had protected his person, and now Owen might lose him because of it. Quillis approached carefully. I will testify on your behalf, he said quietly. What happened was not Ranger's fault. Thanks, Owen said. As security escorted them out of the training facility, Owen kept one hand on Ranger's head. The dog leaned against his leg, offering comfort without knowing why it was needed. Other students watched them leave. Some looked frightened, but many looked thoughtful, like they were seeing something they had not expected to see. Owen spent the next 2 hours in a small waiting room while Ranger was taken to what the security officer called a temporary holding facility. The phrase made Owen's chest tight with worry. He tried to convince himself that it was just a room, not a cage, but his imagination kept showing him his dog locked behind bars, confused and scared. Quillis had refused to leave. The Frithen sat across from Owen, his wings folded neatly, occasionally offering quiet reassurances that everything would work out. They have to review the security footage, Quillis said for the 3rd time. Once they see what actually happened, they will understand. Unless they decide that any protective behavior counts as aggression, Owen said. Some places on Earth have laws like that. If a dog defends its owner even without biting, they can label it as vicious. This is not Earth, Quillis pointed out, but I understand your concern. A door opened and a human woman entered. She was older, maybe 50, with gray hair pulled back in a practical bun. She wore the formal attire of an Earth diplomatic service. Owen, she asked. I'm Dr. Patricia Wells. I'm a cultural liaison with the Human Embassy. The Academy contacted us about the incident. Owen stood up quickly. Is Ranger okay? Your dog is fine. He's in a comfortable room with water and a place to rest. The facility staff reports he's been calm and cooperative. Dr. Wells sat down and gestured for Owen to do the same. I've seen the security footage. Can you tell me in your own words what happened? Owen explained the whole situation, from Halvor's lecture about human recklessness to the instructor's sudden threatening gesture. Dr. Wells listened without interrupting, taking notes on her datapad. And Ranger stopped immediately when you called him? She asked. Instantly, Owen confirmed. That's consistent with the footage, Dr. Wells said. She looked at Quillis. You were also present? Quillis nodded. I witnessed everything. Student Owen's account is accurate. The instructor initiated the confrontation, and Ranger responded to what appeared to be a threat. The dog did not make contact and ceased his behavior when commanded. Dr. Wells made another note. There's going to be a formal hearing tomorrow. The Academy takes these matters seriously, especially when they involve potential danger to students or staff. I understand, Owen said quietly. However, Dr. Wells continued, I want you to understand something important. What happened today is not unusual for human-canine relationships. It's actually evidence of exactly how the bond is supposed to work. Ranger assessed a potential threat, responded proportionally, and obeyed immediately when you indicated the threat was not real. That shows remarkable training and trust. Try telling that to everyone who ran screaming, Owen said. Dr. Wells smiled slightly. That's part of why I'm here. This is a teachable moment, Owen. Most of the galaxy doesn't understand humans yet. They don't understand our relationship with other species. They see predators as threats, not partners. Your situation is an opportunity to change that perception. I just want Ranger back, Owen admitted. I know, and we're going to make that happen, but I need you to be prepared for tomorrow. The hearing will likely have representatives from multiple species, and they're going to have questions. Some will be hostile. Can you handle that? Owen straightened his shoulders. Yes, good. Dr. Wells stood. Get some rest tonight. I'll be at the hearing with you tomorrow. After she left, Owen and Quillis returned to their quarters. The room felt empty without Ranger's presence. Owen kept expecting to hear the click of claws on the floor or the sound of a tail thumping against furniture. He pulled up photos on his datapad, images of Ranger as a puppy, of them hiking together, of lazy afternoons with the dog sprawled across his lap. In every picture, Ranger looked happy and loved. May I ask you something? Quillis said from his perch. Sure. Why do humans form these bonds? You said it makes you happy, but there must be more to it than simple pleasure. Owen thought about it. I guess it's because we don't like being alone. Humans are social. We need connections with others. And somewhere in our history, we figured out that those connections didn't have to be just with other humans. We could form families with different species entirely. But Ranger cannot speak with you. He cannot discuss philosophy or help you solve complex problems. No, Owen agreed. But he understands me anyway. When I'm sad, he knows. He comes and puts his head on my lap. When I'm happy, he's happy. That kind of understanding doesn't need words. Quillis was quiet for a moment. I am beginning to comprehend why other species find humans unsettling. You create emotional bonds with creatures that could harm you. You trust without logical reason. It's not without reason, Owen said. It's just a different kind of logic. Ranger has never given me a reason not to trust him. Why would I treat him like a threat when he spent his whole life showing me he's a friend? And if he did harm you, would you still defend him? Owen smiled sadly. Yeah, probably. That's what family does. News of the incident had spread throughout the academy. Owen's communication device buzzed constantly with messages. Some were supportive, from students who had seen the footage and agreed with Owen's version of events. Others were afraid, asking why he had brought such a dangerous animal to the academy in the first place. Bresic sent a message that simply said, I will speak for you tomorrow. Other students offered similar support. Even some who had been terrified of Ranger acknowledged that the dog had shown restraint and obedience. But there were plenty who insisted Ranger should be removed, that no creature capable of such displays should be allowed near students. That human judgment clearly could not be trusted. Owen tried to sleep but found it impossible. He kept thinking about Ranger alone in some room, waiting for Owen to come get him. Dogs didn't understand bureaucracy or hearings or cultural differences. Ranger only understood that his person was gone and he didn't know why. Around midnight, Quillis spoke from his perch. Owen, are you awake? Yeah. I am afraid of your dog. I want you to know this honestly. His size, his teeth, his speed, all of it triggers my species' fear responses. Owen's heart sank. Okay. But, Quillis continued, I have been thinking about what I observed today. Ranger could have bitten Instructor Halvor. He is certainly fast enough and strong enough. But he did not, he warned. And when you spoke, he listened. This suggests intelligence and control that I had not attributed to him. He's a good dog, Owen said quietly. Perhaps, Quillis said. The question is not whether Ranger is dangerous. Perhaps the question is whether the danger can be directed and controlled through the bond you share. If that is true, then maybe the relationship is not foolish. Maybe it is sophisticated in ways my species has not considered. Owen felt something tight in his chest loosen slightly. Thanks, Quillis. I am still afraid, Quillis admitted. But I am also curious. That is progress, I think. That's all I can ask for, Owen said. Tomorrow would determine whether Ranger could stay. Owen had to believe that the truth of what happened would be enough. The bond between humans and dogs had survived for thousands of years. Surely it could survive one hearing. The hearing chamber was designed to accommodate multiple species, with various types of seating arranged in a semicircle facing a raised platform where 5 academy officials sat. Owen recognized the Heltron administrator who had greeted him on his first day. The others were unfamiliar, representing different member species of the galactic community. Dr. Wells sat beside Owen at a small table. Behind them, a section had been designated for witnesses. Quillis was there, along with Bresic and several other students from the training class. On the opposite side of the room, Instructor Halvor sat with his own representative, a Sauran legal advisor whose scales gleamed under the chamber's lights. The presiding official, an elderly being whose species Owen did not recognize, activated a recording device. This hearing will address the incident involving student Owen of Earth and his registered companion animal. All testimony will be recorded and reviewed. We will begin with a viewing of the security footage. The lights dimmed, and a holographic display activated above the center of the room. Owen watched himself enter the training facility with Ranger. He saw the dog sit obediently in the corner. Then came the moment when Halvor approached, made his threatening gesture toward Owen, and Ranger responded. The footage was clear and undeniable. Even Owen could see how precise Ranger's response had been. The dog had barked and positioned himself between threat and owner, but had not lunged or bitten. When Owen called him off, the obedience was immediate. The lights came back up. Instructor Halver, the presiding official, said, "Please present your account." Halver stood. "I was conducting a standard lesson on threat assessment. I used the human's creature as an example of inappropriate risk management. To demonstrate predatory response, I simulated a threat scenario. The animal reacted with clear aggression, confirming my assessment that it poses a danger to Academy personnel and students." "Did you inform student Owen that you intended to use his animal in a demonstration?" the official asked. The demonstration required authentic response. Warning would have compromised the educational value. The official made a note. "Student Owen, your account, please." Owen stood, his legs feeling unsteady. "Ranger is my emotional support animal. He's been with me since he was 8 weeks old. He's trained to be calm in public spaces and to respond to commands immediately." During the class, Instructor Halvor made what Ranger perceived as a threat toward me. Ranger did what he was trained to do, which is protect me. But he didn't attack, he warned. When I told him to stop, he stopped right away. He was never out of control. "You claim the animal is trained," one of the officials said. "Who provided this training?" "I did," Owen said, "with help from professional trainers on Earth. It's standard practice for service and support animals." "And you believe you are qualified to train a predator?" "Humans have been training dogs for thousands of years," Owen said. "It's not unusual on Earth. Most families have dogs." This statement caused murmuring among the officials. Dr. Wells stood. "If I may address the tribunal, I can provide context for human-canine relationships." The presiding official nodded. Dr. Wells activated her own data pad, and images appeared in the holographic display. Dogs of various breeds, from tiny lapdogs to massive working animals. Pictures of dogs with children, dogs performing search and rescue, dogs assisting humans with disabilities, dogs simply being part of families. Humans and canines have one of the longest documented interspecies partnerships in galactic records, Dr. Wells said. The relationship goes back at least 30,000 years, possibly longer. During that time, we have shaped each other. Dogs evolved to understand human communication better than any other species. Humans evolved social structures that include canines as family members. She showed brain scans comparing how humans and dogs responded to each other. The limbic systems of both species lit up in similar ways, indicating genuine emotional bonding. "What happened yesterday was not an aberration," Dr. Wells continued. "It was an example of exactly how the relationship is designed to function." Ranger assessed a threat to his human, responded with measured defensive behavior, and immediately obeyed a command to stand down. This demonstrates sophisticated understanding and control, not mindless aggression. "But the potential for harm exists," one official argued. "The animal has teeth and strength sufficient to cause injury. So does nearly every species in this room," Dr. Wells pointed out. Bresic, for example, is significantly stronger and more dangerous than Ranger in terms of pure physical capability. Yet we do not consider him a threat, because we trust he will not use that capability against others without cause. "Why should Ranger be judged by a different standard?" Bresic stood. "I would like to speak, if permitted." The presiding official gestured for him to continue. "I am Vorlon," Bresic said. "My species are natural predators. We understand the drive to hunt and the capacity for violence. I have observed Ranger closely since student Owen arrived. The dog shows remarkable control. He has been approached by students, touched, photographed, surrounded by unfamiliar species, and in every case he has responded with calm acceptance. Yesterday was the first time he showed aggression, and only because he believed his human was in danger. I have trained warriors who showed less discipline." Quillis stood next. His voice was quiet but steady. "I was terrified of Ranger when I first saw him. I am still afraid, if I'm honest, but I share living quarters with him and student Owen. I have watched their interactions. The bond is real. Ranger looks to Owen for guidance constantly. He trusts Owen completely, and Owen treats Ranger with respect and care. This is not a human controlling a beast. It is a partnership." Other students spoke, sharing their observations. The picture that emerged was consistent. Ranger was calm, obedient, and gentle, except in the one moment when he perceived a threat to Owen. Finally, Instructor Halver's legal advisor stood. "Regardless of intent or training, the fact remains that the creature displayed aggressive behavior on Academy grounds. The safety of all students and staff must be prioritized." We recommend the animal be removed from the academy permanently. The presiding official looked at the other tribunal members. They conferred quietly for several minutes. We will hear from one more witness, the official said. Bring in the creature. Owen's heart jumped. 2 security personnel entered leading Ranger on a leash. The dog's ears perked up immediately when he saw Owen, and his tail began wagging so hard his entire back end wiggled. Ranger, sit, one of the security officers commanded. Ranger ignored him, his attention fixed on Owen. The creature does not obey, Halvor's advisor said. He doesn't know you, Owen said. Can I try? The presiding official nodded. Ranger, sit, Owen said. Ranger sat immediately, though his tail continued to sweep the floor. Down, Owen said. Ranger, lay down. Stay. Owen walked across the room, putting distance between himself and Ranger. The dog remained in place, watching him. Owen turned to the tribunal. He's trained to respond to me, not to strangers. That's actually good design for a protection animal. If anyone could command him, he wouldn't be very effective at keeping me safe. Approach the creature, the presiding official said to one of the security officers. Make no threatening gestures. Simply walk near it. The officer approached cautiously. Ranger watched but did not move. His tail wagged once when the officer got close. Now, the official said to Halvor. You approach. Halvor hesitated. Please, the official said. We must see if the creature's response is specific or general. Halvor walked forward slowly. As he got within a few feet of Ranger, the dog's posture changed. His ears went back slightly and his tail stopped wagging. But he did not bark or rise. He simply watched with clear wariness. He remembers you, Owen said. But he's not aggressive. He's just alert. Return to your seat, the official told Halvor. The tribunal conferred again, longer this time. Owen felt like his heart might beat out of his chest. Ranger remained lying down, occasionally glancing at Owen as if to ask when they could leave. Finally, the presiding official spoke. This tribunal finds that while Ranger did display defensive behavior, it was proportional, controlled, and ceased immediately upon command. The incident was precipitated by Instructor Halvor's actions, which, while intended as educational, were poorly conceived and executed without proper safety protocols. Ranger is cleared of wrongdoing. Owen felt relief wash over him. However, the official continued, we recognize that human-canine relationships remain poorly understood by much of the galactic community. Student Owen, your companion may remain at the academy under the following conditions. You will conduct educational sessions about Earth animals and human bonding practices. You will work with xenocultural studies to develop better understanding of human customs, and you will continue to demonstrate responsible handling of your companion. I agree, Owen said quickly. Thank you. Ranger, come, Owen called. The dog bounded over and Owen dropped to his knees to hug him. Ranger licked his face enthusiastically, tail wagging with pure joy. 2 months after the hearing, Owen's quarters had become one of the most popular gathering spots on campus. Students from a dozen different species crowded into the common area, some perched on furniture, others standing or floating near the ceiling, all of them watching as Owen gave his weekly presentation on Earth animals. Ranger lay in the middle of the room, completely relaxed despite being surrounded by alien beings. A small creature with crystalline skin sat near his tail, occasionally reaching out to touch the soft fur. Ranger's tail thumped lazily against the floor. So this is a cat, Owen said, displaying an image of a tabby. They're smaller than dogs usually, and they're also predators. Humans keep millions of them as pets. How many Earth creatures have humans domesticated? Someone asked. Depends on how you count, Owen said. Dogs, cats, horses, cattle, pigs, chickens, rabbits, ferrets, hamsters, guinea pigs, various birds, some reptiles, fish, even some insects. If you include animals we work with but don't keep as pets, the list gets even longer. Elephants, dolphins, falcons, camels, llamas, reindeer, and more. The students made sounds of amazement. But why? A Heltron student asked. What drives humans to seek partnerships with so many species? Owen had been asked this question many times now, and he had refined his answer. I think it's because humans are really good at seeing potential friends instead of just threats or resources. When we met wolves thousands of years ago, we could have just hunted them or avoided them. Instead, we saw what we could become together. Wolves got reliable food sources and protection. Humans got hunting partners and guardians. Both species benefited, and over time we became family. Quillis, who now sat comfortably on the floor near Ranger, spoke up. I have been researching human history. This pattern repeats across your entire development as a species. You encounter something unfamiliar, and your first instinct is often to befriend it rather than destroy it. Not always, Owen admitted. Humans have done plenty of destroying too. But yeah, I think we're wired to look for connections. It's probably why we're so excited to be part of the galactic community. You're all just more potential friends. Brasic laughed his rumbling laugh. Humans are either the bravest species in the galaxy or the most foolish. Perhaps both. Definitely both, Owen agreed with a grin. After the presentation ended, students lingered. This had become routine. They would ask questions, share observations, and many would spend time near Ranger. The dog had become something of an unofficial therapy animal for the academy. Students who were stressed about exams would come to pet him. Those who were homesick found comfort in his steady, calm presence. Quillis had made the most dramatic transformation. The Frithin who had once pressed himself against the far wall now regularly napped using Ranger as a pillow. The dog seemed to understand that Quillis was fragile and was especially gentle with him. I never thought I would trust a predator, Quillis said, scratching behind Ranger's ears. But I trust him. More surprisingly, I trust myself around him. He has taught me that fear and caution are not the same thing. That's pretty profound, Owen said. I am considering writing my thesis on human bonding practices, Quillis continued. If approved, I would need your cooperation as a primary source. Absolutely, Owen said. A message alert chimed on Owen's datapad. Dr. Wells wanted to meet with him. Owen excused himself, leaving Ranger in the care of his friends, something that would have been unthinkable 2 months ago. Dr. Wells's office was in the human embassy section of the station. She greeted Owen with a smile and gestured to a seat. The Academy is very pleased with your educational sessions, she said. Enrollment in xenocultural studies has tripled. Students are writing papers on interspecies bonding. Several species have even started inquiring about whether they might be able to adopt Earth animals. Really? Owen asked. Really? You've started something important here, Owen. The galactic community is beginning to understand that humans don't just coexist with other species. We actively seek to understand and connect with them. That makes us valuable in ways that go beyond technology or military strength. I just wanted to keep my dog, Owen said. And in doing so, you showed everyone something they needed to see. Humans have a gift for building bridges, for finding common ground. The galaxy needs that, especially now when so many different cultures are trying to work together. Dr. Wells pulled up a holographic display. I want to show you something. This is data from the Academy's social integration metrics over the past 2 months. The graphs showed dramatic increases in cross-species interactions, collaborative projects, and what the metrics called positive social bonding. The uptick started exactly when Ranger had been cleared to remain on campus. Students who were afraid to interact with unfamiliar species have been watching how you interact with Ranger, Dr. Wells explained. They're learning that trust has to be built, that patience pays off, and that relationships with the unknown can be rewarding rather than dangerous. Your dog has become a living lesson in bridge building. Owen looked at the data in wonder. He's a good boy. He's an excellent ambassador, Dr. Wells corrected. And so are you. When Owen returned to his quarters, he found an even larger crowd than usual. Students from species he had never seen before had joined the regular group. Ranger was in the center of it all, accepting pets and attention with his usual patience. Bresic waved Owen over. You have become famous, the Vorlon said. Students are coming from other academies to meet the human with the predator companion. That's weird, Owen said. That is influence, Bresic corrected. You are changing minds, Owen. You are showing the galaxy that humans are not just another species with interesting technology. You are showing them that humans understand something fundamental about connection that many have forgotten or never learned. Over the following weeks, Owen's role at the Academy evolved. He was no longer just a student. He had become a bridge between human culture and the broader galactic community. He gave presentations at other institutions via holographic link. He consulted with xenobiologists studying Earth's ecosystem. He even helped design new protocols for introducing species with different threat assessment frameworks. Through it all, Ranger remained constant. The dog still greeted Owen with the same enthusiasm every day, still lay at his feet during study sessions, still knew when Owen was stressed and needed comfort. The bond that had frightened so many people now served as proof that connection was possible across any divide. One evening, as Owen sat in his quarters surrounded by friends from a half-dozen worlds, Quillis made an observation. "When you first arrived, I thought humans were mad," the Frithen said. "I believed you took foolish risks and ignored obvious dangers. But I understand now. You do see the dangers. You simply believe that connection is worth the risk. You choose trust over fear whenever possible." "And when we're wrong?" Owen asked. "Then you learn and try again," Quillis said. "But more often than not, you are right. The galaxy has thousands of species, and most of us have learned to maintain careful distance from one another. We cooperate, but we do not truly bond. Humans bond with everyone, even creatures that could harm you, especially creatures that could harm you. That is not madness. That is hope." Ranger stretched and yawned, displaying all his teeth. No one flinched. The gesture that had once sent students fleeing was now familiar, even endearing. Owen scratched behind Ranger's ears, and the dog leaned into the touch with a content sigh. 30,000 years of partnership had brought them to this moment. A human and his dog, surrounded by alien friends, on a space station orbiting a distant star. The setting was new, but the bond was ancient. "You know what's funny?" Owen said. "On Earth, we always wondered what we'd bring to galactic society. What makes humans special? Turns out it's not our technology or our science or even our art, it's this. The ability to look at something different and think friend instead of threat. That is not a small thing," Bresic said. "That might be the most important thing." A new student entered, a species Owen had not seen before. The being had too many limbs and eyes that saw into spectrums humans could not perceive. It stopped in the doorway, clearly uncertain. Owen smiled and gestured to an empty space. "Come on in. This is Ranger. He's friendly." The being hesitated, then slowly entered. Ranger lifted his head, tail wagging, and the bridge grew a little longer. Outside, stars wheeled in their ancient dance. Ships from 100 worlds docked and departed. The galaxy continued its complicated work of bringing diverse species together into something resembling community. In one small room, a human and his dog showed them how it was done, one friend at a time,